A journey that ought to last about 2 hours took more than 6 months, or almost 7 months, for the 23 victims of the ill-fated Abuja Kaduna train, which was attacked on the 28th of March 2022. What a sigh of relief it was for Nigerians. The release of the final batch of the 23 abductees from the den of the Boko Haram terrorists on Wednesday, 5th of this month, 2022. As the nation still basks in the euphoria of Nigeria's 62nd independence anniversary. Family members are certainly overjoyed at the release and can't wait to reunite with their loved ones who have endured weeks and months of captivity in the forest, even in very harsh weather conditions and unhealthy environment. In a statement by the Secretary, Chief of Defense Staff Action Committee, Professor Usman Yusuf, said the hostages were released at about 4 p.m. on Wednesday, and his committee has taken custody of the victims. And I quote, "I am pleased to announce to the nation and the world that at 4 p.m. Wednesday, the 7-man Presidential Committee, assembled by the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Rabo, secured the release and has taken into custody all 23 remaining passengers held hostage by Boko Haram terrorists following the attack on the train to Kaduna train on the 28th of March 2022, end of quote. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari has on Thursday, 6th of October, met with the freed 23 passengers at the Nigerian Defense Academy NDA Hospital in Kaduna with an appreciation to the Nigerian military for their brave services in securing the safe release of the hostages.
Relief came for our country as the remaining 23 victims of the March 28 Abuja Kaduna train attack were released by the heinous terrorists. This feat was not achieved without our military. As the interventionist Chief of Defense Staff Action Committee, set up by General Leo Erabo, was at the center of the development, along with sister security agencies. I say bravo to our soldiers, officers, and gentlemen.
I'd like to once again thank you, Mr. President, for all the support that you've given that has led to this release, and then earlier ones that we had before now, to which some individuals felt that they were behind it. But thankfully, the balance of the 23 are here.
The question, however, is what psychosocial support and measures are in place for the released victims, and what does their release signify in Nigeria's battle against insurgency? These and other questions will form the focus of our discussion on Nigeria Today. I am Lydia Odijochi, and you're welcome to the program. With me in the studio is former Army spokesman as well as consultant, Nigerian Army Resource Center, Brigadier General Sani Usman Kukasheka, retired. Glad to have you join us once again.
Good evening.
Also in the studio is Dr. Sani Aliu, Corps Commandant General, Neighborhood Enlightenment and Safety Organization, NESO, Counter-Terrorism Organization, a forensic investigation expert, and Director, Intergovernmental of International Institute of Certified Forensic Investigation, Africa. So it's a pleasure having you to talk about security.
Thank you very much, and good evening.
Okay, let me start with the general. At last, we have all the passengers or the victims released now. How was or is the feeling for us as a government and the people to have achieved this after such a long time?
I think naturally, first and foremost, I think the issue of gratitude to God for making this feat possible. At the same time, also to commend all those people that have had hand in the release of these people that have been in captivity for over 6 months, particularly the Chief of Defense Staff, General Lucky Irabo, and those people that were part of the committee, that comprise senior retired military officers, security experts, as well as intellectuals and other, civilians. We really need to appreciate their effort and commend them for this unprecedented feat. And we have to be very happy and rejoice, not just necessarily with just the abductees, the released abductees and their families, but to humanity. Because you can imagine, being in the hands of terrorists and criminal elements all this while. The climatic condition itself is something else. Talk less of, degradations and host of other things. So it's a kind of thing of joy, happiness and pride that finally, we are putting a close to that chapter. Remember, since 28 March, no meaningful, well-meaning Nigerians, have a, kind of rest of mind till yesterday when we were able to get fellow citizens back to humanity. So it's a kind of something of joy and happiness, and most importantly, it sends out something that we had been talking about over time. First, we are talking about synergy of effort, cooperation and coordination among the military, now among the security agencies, but again among the whole component of the Nigerian society. So it has gone a notch higher by the involvement of these people who ordinarily could have been the normal citizens, but they were involved. And look at the unprecedented result that we have, and we need to commend them, we need to appreciate them, and we need to build on this wonderful effort that we have attained thus far.
Yeah, thank you very much. Now, Dr. Aliyu, before we go into the states or the condition of these victims, can we have possibly a brief on what transpired in the last 6 months, or what really went into securing their release?
Well, it is difficult for me to give you details of what transpired, but I am sure the government and the security agency were working day and night without sparing any time, making their effort to see how best they can do to be able to release all these captives without any casualty, without resulting to death or killing of these captives. And I give the government the kudos, and the Nigerian military and other security agencies for being professional in handling the matter to the extent that we are getting all of them out of the captivity. So it's a very good development. And I think the first footing was right to have taken them to the military hospital for evaluation, and then maybe sometimes they equally need beyond hospital. They need some psychological touch here and there in order to prepare back their mind and rejoin them to the society, because it has been very, very bad situation for them in the last 6 to 7 months.
Okay. Now, I still want to ask, now, they are in hospital now, they are being evaluated, and of course you're talking about some kind of treatment, psychological treatment, to help them get over this trauma, because honestly, one cannot even begin to explain what they went through. But usually in a case like this, what should be the standard procedure for people who had been held hostage for such a long time?
Well, the standard procedure, like they've started, is evaluating their general well-being, their health, and then see their mental balance, how it has affected them, how deteriorated they are by now, and how you can build up their confidence again and remold them to fit the current, the new society they found themselves, because it's almost a lost society for them. Now they are back to the society, so there's a lot of doctoring to do and a lot of talking, and so there's so much thing to be done them. But in the whole, it's a very welcome development, and I applaud the security agency and the president, because without the president, they wouldn't have performed much. So the president's effort and the political will, the determination to make sure that they are released on hot, and we have seen that, and it's a very good thing, showing that Nigerians have started regaining their confidence that yes, they have high premium, because earlier people were, everybody was downcast, thinking that Nigerian life has no meaning to anybody, because they see the government as being lax in terms of trying to give them the protection. But now the government have proved everybody wrong, that yes, the Nigerian life is very important. No matter, even if it's one person, we will go all out to see that we secure the safety.
Okay. Now, General, what does this signify in the fight against insurgency?
Well, first and foremost, I think even though, some of these criminalities are transnational, but I can say with what is happening that we have the capacity, given the right equipment, the right people, and the right opportunity to solve some of this problem, as manifested in what we have just witnessed recently. And beyond that, again, I think it has opened another window of an opportunity, like I said earlier, on the issue of when you are dealing with insurgency and stops like that, bulk of the efforts are non-kinetic. In fact, the military effort is just negligible. Maybe at most, if you are putting it on 100%, maybe it could be 30–35%. So there are other, efforts that are supposed to be done by the component of the society. And when you are faced with these challenges, you bring in the elements of national power. Is it the natural or is it the social? Which one do you think best suits, the purpose? But the natural, particularly, there is one important, resource, the human resource. To what extent have you been employing that? And one thing we should understand about Nigeria, beyond the natural resources, the mineral and water fuel, the most important resource that God has given us is the human resource. To what extent have you been using? Yes, technology could have. Now, you look at in a position, in a situation whereby we have 200 million people, something happened. For 6 months, just less than 10 people were able to solve a problem out of that number. So if we involve more Nigerians, because one of the greatest staying power of the Nigerian state is the human resource. And it is not just Nigeria alone. What makes America tick, it is not the equipment or the military power, but the resilience of the average American citizen. To what extent? Because Nigerians are incredible people. To what extent are you involving the right people in delivering some of these things? We know some of these people that have been, without mentioning name, the retired officers, of course, the intellectuals, that they have been doing marvelous jobs. And they are doing it at no cost. So it's left for us to decide, to discover or to give the right people the right responsibility, and you see what it will bring about. And of course, we have to emphasize on this synergy of effort, cooperation, coordinations, and given the strategic directives. Dr. Sani has made mention of, the effort by the president. They couldn't have achieved this if the president has not given them, the strategic directive, and we have the decisive military leadership, headed by the Chief of Defense Staff. And of course, the commitment on the part of all those involved. So the more of it, and what it tells us further is that we cannot do it alone. We need to involve the right people, and we get the right result.
Okay, all right. Now let's take a break. We'll be back in a moment. Don't go away.
This is NTA News 24 broadcasting from Abuja. You can watch us anywhere, anytime on the following platforms.
Start Times, Channel 101, Freak TV, Channel 703, GSTV, Channel 419, and Go TV, Channel 46.
For more information, log on to our website www.nta.ng or join us on our social media handles, Facebook at NTA News 24.
For comments, suggestions, and inquiries, send an email to news24@nta.gov.ng or call us on the following numbers.
NTA News 24,
news and more news.
Welcome back. This is Nigeria Today, and our focus is on the release of Abuja Kaduna train passengers. I am still with Brigadier General Sani Usman Kukasheka, retired, former Army spokesman, and Dr. Sani Aliyu, Corps Commandant General, Neighborhood Enlightenment and Safety Organization, NESO. Now let me come to you, Dr. Aliyu. Now, we have secured their release now. What should be next? What should be the way forward in this fight against insurgency at this time?
Well, very interesting because, like the general was saying earlier, it's about all involvement, and it's one thing to win the war, it's another to sustain the victory. Terrorism, like you said earlier, is transnational, it's international, it's local, and it's national. So it has many fronts to deal with the situation. And most of the fronts are not the military action fronts. You need a lot of soft activities to either make sure that you never give them that respite to plan, to come together, to have that lacks of planning at all, and through activities of actionable intelligence, using the communities, using the people around, using the farmers, using the hunters, and all this. It's a whole lot of synergy. And again, you need to have a lot of robust relationship between the border lines, the border communities, and so on and so forth. And earlier before now, there's very important key factor of security that Nigeria, whether deliberately or otherwise, neglected, and that is the traditional council rulers. This section of governance is neglected, it's not carried in the constitution, and that is giving them a lot of unattended attention in terms of profiling, security profiling. Earlier before now, in this country, when a stranger is coming into a community, before he arrives in the community, the head of that community, the traditional head or the traditional ruler of that community has already been informed. He's very much aware of somebody that is coming. They have started, the total package of the community has started profiling that person, passing information straight to the traditional ruler. Before he is invited into the palace, they have already known exactly his purpose. You understand? But such things are not happening. Now, just go across the border of Nigeria, Benin Republic. You want to buy a land. You are profiled by so many community members. Where is he working? How did you have a form to fill? You must state your status in the community, where you are working, how you make your money, everything. They must follow you. They must know your attitude, your antecedents, and whatever before they allow you to even come and stay in their neighborhood. That is not happening in this country. We are so relaxed that everybody comes in and we just welcome him. And it's
borders.
Yes, our borders are so. We are having 1,050 porous borders in Nigeria, and the total security package, the security manpower we are having in Nigeria is less than 1 million, and we are over 200 million people. We need, forget about technology. Yes, there's technology there, but you need people to man those technologies. And so we need to look at what are the inherent problems that led into this vulnerability of terrorism, transnational, the borders are just too porous. So we must start dealing with these situations, one after the other. And it is now. It is not tomorrow. It's just now.
Definitely.
If we don't do it now, it may be worse for us again. Now, we were sounding warning when Libya was about to break. And that most of these things, that these arms will find their way into Nigeria, but no one listening. So you need to have check and balances. People who are there, that the whole country is being watched. We need a well-policing country. If you go to England today, you are just going on the street. Someone, an old woman somewhere in her room, is already calling the police, the Metropolis Police, to come and check you out. They don't know you in that community. So we need to develop and evolve a community like that, we must be policing ourselves. Nigeria is, for all intent and purpose, the largest black nation in the world. And like Nelson Mandela said, if Nigeria fails, Africa, the black man has failed.
Yes.
So we cannot afford this luxury of...
I never even heard somewhere that if Nigeria coughs, the whole of Africa will catch a cold.
Yeah, I remember the former president of America who said whatever sickness that happened in America has direct and ripple effect to Nigeria.
Yes.
And whatever that's happening in Nigeria has direct and ripple effect to America.
All right, General, now, what should we put in place to avoid future occurrence?
Well, first and foremost, which of the occurrence? The train attack, the kidnapping? And, well, I think the starting point, first and foremost, we have had Nigerians that have been in captivity for over 6 months. We have to give them all the necessary support, all the necessary care. It is not just them, but even their family members. And you remember, one of the victims is barely 5 years old. So you can imagine the trauma, and so that is the starting point. And secondly, these people, I'm talking about the Chief of Defense Staff Action Committee that were instrumental to this, wonderful effort. I think the briefing will be accurate at this point in time because they have learned so much, they have seen so much. It may interest you to know, they have a key to some of the, solution to some of this problem. So whatever they say, I think it should be taken very, very seriously. And we ought to build on what they have known thus far. And then thirdly, we have to really involve other components of the Nigerian society. We have seen holistic approach, it gave the desired result. Now, let's look at even, the level of the relationship between those that are, host communities of all this infrastructure. Take, for instance, the railway line. What is the level of relationship between the Nigerian Railway Corporation and the people along that line? What is the level of relationship between them and the security agencies? What is the level of relationship between them and the government? So you need concerted effort and involvement. He made reference to the traditional institutions. Bulk of all these things that are happening, to a large extent, they have an insider collaboration. To what extent are we trying to involve people so that, again, we have to put in, mechanism, capacity of the average citizen to be more security conscious and all the rest. So a lot of things need to be done. But I think, the most important thing, those things have started been rolling out, and we expect things to get better. And even if we cannot completely eliminate it, we will reduce criminality at the barest minimum.
Thank you very much. It has been a long wait for the release of these victims. So the release is a commendation to all the security agencies. And we want to thank you, Brigadier General Sani Usman Kakasheka, former Army spokesman.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for coming.
It's
We're all
been
very
a
happy.
wonderful
We
opportunity.
also want to appreciate Dr. Sani Aliu, Corps Commandant General, Neighborhood Enlightenment and Safety Organization, NESO. Thank you so much for your contributions. Always a pleasure to have you. And to our viewer, we appreciate you for always being a part of our conversation. You can also watch this episode and other ones at www.youtube.com/NTNews24hub. I am Lydia Odijochi. Thank you for sharing your time with us and have a wonderful evening. Goodbye.